right, guys, welcome. Looking forward to this call today. I think it's going to be useful for all trades and builders. And what we're going to be talking about today is primarily how to produce high impact proposals, all right, and how to actually get paid for these proposals. I know it's a shocking concept. Um, so let's get into this. What I found is most contractors believe that the fastest way to win more jobs is to hand out more quotes. All right. So, and especially if you're a specific one trade contractor, free estimates are kind of the way that the world works. And there's certainly time and place for them for sure. But there's another way. And we want to talk about that today. And that's what we call the paid proposal. Okay. So here's what I see happening. Maybe you guys can relate to this. Maybe you guys can feel this pain. But generally, if we're giving out free proposals, we're spending 5 to 10 hours a week on unpaid quotes. Clients price shop your hard work. Projects start without clear scope and profit. Okay, this is something that we commonly see. All right, and even worse if you're a general contractor. Okay. So I've been working with a commercial roof or commercial flooring contractor, and one of the biggest problems that they had is that they were giving really detailed proposals, going the extra mile, and really presenting a good offer to their customers, right? But they're spending about 12 hours a week doing this, all right? And what they ended up finding out is that clients were using them and actually shopping them around. The shocking one was when his proposal and his scope of work was presented back to him so that somebody could get a price from him, which was, obviously a pretty devastating realization is that, there were people that were coming to him just to produce the scope, um, scope the products, and then they were shopping the price. All right. And I'm sure this is happening to more than a few of you or at one point or another, right? So you start to understand that um, you're actually the product. Okay. So, and this goes for trade contractors. This can be for a general contractor. It really is universal across the board. All right. So if you're doing a high number of quotes and not winning a high number of jobs to go with it, we really got to step back and reflect if we are putting ourselves in the right position. Okay. So proposals aren't free work. They're your first paid deliverable. Charging for proposals doesn't scare good clients. It attracts serious ones. And what I mean by this, all right, is just that let's put it into simple understanding. What's the value of free? What value are you presenting when you give something away for free?
Nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay. And let me ask you, when you receive something for free, do you actually believe it's for free? Do you believe anything's for free? No. All right. And unfortunately, we are in the post-trust era. Okay. Nobody trusts anybody. So when you're giving something away for free, you're actually lowering your status. You're lowering your trustability with a good client. Okay. Because somebody has the means, has the intention to buy. All right. They want a totally different thing than the guy that's, looking to get 10 prices for the job. Okay. And you can usually spot them. All right. But fundamentally, we break this trust. We break this trust and we lower our status and we become a lot more observed as salespeople and salesy, okay, by offering these free things, okay, by running out and doing these quotes. And I know it's going to really be challenging to understand this, all right. And again, it's there's definitely some times when it's not it wouldn't work, all right. But in general, we're pricing a large scale project, all right. Our job, our objective to begin with the relationship is first to qualify these people, right? And to make sure that we are a trusted consultant and not just a transactional price. Okay. So let's talk about what the big idea here is. All right. And I've seen this time and time again is we start off with our leads. Okay. Our second step to this, all right, is we really need a good filter in place because the worst thing that can happen, and I've seen it You guys have probably experienced it. You think you've got a great customer, they're saying the right things, you felt like you've connected. But if we really took a careful look at it and we listened carefully to what was being said and what was being exchanged, if it's structured at all, generally underneath that, we're not really finding a fully qualified person there, right? Meaning we haven't established enough to really, you know, quantify running out and giving them a full detailed proposal. So what we want to do is we actually want to get a smaller commitment up front sooner, all right, to validate, is this worth my time? Okay. So again, you know, it does take a little bit of actually, it takes a massive change in thought process for sure and mindset. But I want you to understand that everybody here, if you're in the trade business, all right, you're in high demand. Okay. It doesn't matter where you are, and you'll continue to be in high demand. All right. You should never be giving away free time, and free time gets blown in our proposals. All right. It also leads to a lot of the reasons we don't win projects that we should. And we're going to talk a lot about that today, hopefully, and address those issues that may be plaguing you and causing people to not want to go forward with your proposals. Okay. So what's the framework? All right. What's the process for getting paid for your proposals? Let's start off right off the bat by qualifying. Okay. Now, if you've been with our program or if you know how our system works, we we really focus a lot on lead scoring. All right, having a preset script, if you will, of questions that we're going to ask. All right, and we're going to score that lead. And ideally, we're doing this in a non-biased way, meaning. All right. And my personal opinion and my personal observation is that if you're the salesperson, all right, you really shouldn't be involved in that first initial call. Okay. I know it goes again contrary to what most people believe, but qualifying really is the base of this. All right. And we have to have a structure to how we qualify. They have to actually meet the targets of what you're looking for as a customer. All right. And you know, we want to prevent us just running around again and giving out estimates or pricing people that really don't qualify for our offer. All right. So to give you some perspective on this, in my business, if I called my own business right now and requested a quote, I would not qualify. All right. We wouldn't give me a quote. All right. In fact, we disqualify 50% of our leads. And people think I'm crazy for it. Like people are blown away when they hear that. All right. But that's the reality. Okay.
Please make a
Because,
change.
oh, that's the reality that we face. And I know my offer, I know my customer, my avatar very well. And we've chosen that we're only going to focus on a specific part of the market that we have a higher percentage of closing on. All right. This does a couple of things that are really, really important. All right. Number one, okay, is you have a predictable sales pipeline. All right. We have a predictable revenue guideline. We can turn our revenue up and down. All right. We have full control on that. We we know what our closing ratios should be. And we're really, again, focused our marketing on finding that same customer every single time, right? I sell to doctors, lawyers, engineers. You know, they live in certain neighborhoods. Their kids go to certain schools. They drive certain, you know, name brand cars. And they're generally predictable. Now, if I have somebody that's asking for a quote from us, all right, and they don't meet that category, we're confident enough to disqualify them. All right, we're comfortable enough to say thank you, but no thank you. All right, because we don't want to waste our time. Our time is more valuable, all right, on a low percentage risk. Now, again, if leads are behind, they're lead scored. All right. So if we have a very low lead and we have time to do it, we might take it on. But again, it's rare. Okay. So I want to stop just really quickly. I know that was a lot of information right off the bat. Is anybody have any questions about what I'm presenting here? Okay, cool. So we'll continue on. All right. Now, the next step, if you're a general contractor, if you are a trades contractor, I don't care what you're doing. Okay. We have a duty to our customer, all right, to present ourselves as the trusted consultant. And you'll hear me say that quite often, all right? But what it really means, all right, is that we can demonstrate value ahead of actually meeting with someone. Okay? So how do you demonstrate your value? How do you get somebody warmed up or trusting you without ever really meeting them after a short phone call? Okay. So what I'm going to share with you is what we try to implement with all of our customers. Now, this is mine, but specifically is our welcome package. Okay. Every customer that we've qualified receives this document. All right. In this document, what I'm attempting to do, all right, is essentially build trust, but also explain our process, explain, how things are going to work, and give them the information that they would otherwise be searching for. Okay. So I want to make sure that in their hands, all right, they know what kind of company they're dealing with. And this is going to do two things. All right. Sometimes people receive this and they call us back and they're like, you know what, we're really concerned that you're going to be too expensive, or they don't, or they cancel their appointment, and that's just fine with us. Okay. That's time saved. All right. On the other hand, we've had people actually, really look forward to our appointments. And, again, the whole transaction changes, right? It moves from just getting a price to, how quickly can you get the job done, right? And we haven't even given them a price, right? So again, it's explaining their process. It's taking all of the questions they have in the back of their mind and presenting it to them. Okay. So we use it to start to build early trust. Now this goes along with videos and testimonials. Again, you can see this is all social proof, case studies of jobs that we've done. All right. So this gives them a large head start on understanding if they can trust us or not. All right. We've already validated that they're capable of, or their properties in the place that we would do work, and that the project fits the type of work we do. All right. Now we're aiming to really build that trust level for the appointment when we go out and see them. Okay. So I'm going to change my screen here. Okay. For general, oh, what was that? Okay. Now, so we've sent our welcome package. All right. We also could potentially send after that first call, if you're a general contractor, if the job is going to be larger in scale, I suggest you send the paid proposal off the bat. Okay. That explains, I'm not going out to anybody's house or starting to do measurements or taking anything other than a ballpark price. All right. Unless it's a paid proposal. So again, you would use a similar package to what I just showed you. All right, that would help the homeowner understand what they're paying for exactly, right? Maybe you're adding some 3D images, maybe you're doing a full thorough estimate, but let's just put that paid proposal into perspective. All right. There's two types of contractors out there. There's going to be one that runs out and has to sell you something. All right. Again, they're going to be giving you free estimates. They're not going to be accurate, right? They're not going to be on point. They may not have the time to listen to all the details and all the information that you have about your project. All right. They definitely don't have time to research those things or to make sure that they're all properly accounted for. So you're going to get a free proposal, but it's not something we can really depend on. All right. So by paying me, I'm going to act as your estimator. I'm going to make sure that we go through all of these things and that you get an accurate price that you can count on, right? I'm going to make sure that you get an accurate depiction of how your project will work. And we're going to make sure that this is planned from the get-go. Okay. Now, do you think that anybody spending $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 would you really care about 12 or 1,500 bucks to plan it? I think anybody is that not security? Right? Let's put it into perspective. A high value customer doing a $300,000 project having a problem with $1,200 fee. I don't think so. Okay. A lot of times, though, we're not presenting that as the value. All right. Again, we got to think about our position, how we warm them up, how we have those discussions. And that's a whole other, we could go on for a while with that. But today we're just going to talk about the process. All right. Now we want to build our sales focused proposal. All right. By getting paid for your proposal, and we all know this, again, how much more effort and energy can you be put into it to make sure that the client is getting exactly what they want? More importantly, that project can actually be planned and run smoothly. A lot. The answer is a lot. Okay. Um, and here's the thing. I know a lot of you guys probably send out your quotes and email them out. I'm not a fan of that. I don't believe that that's a good way to do business. We're still in the people to people business. There are some exceptions, okay? There are some exceptions. So again, we're dealing with a wide range of contractors, but anytime you've put time and effort into an actual proposal and it's a larger scale job, um, and somebody's paid you for that time, I feel like you should be presenting that to them live. That's also the best opportunity for you to close the deal. Okay. And anybody wants to argue with me, that's up for debate. We know I've tested it every single way. I mean, again, your percentage of jobs being sold goes down dramatically when we just email out quotes. Okay, dramatically, like not a little bit. All right, like cut in half. Okay, so or anybody doing two steps. So we go out and meet them, and we can't sell to them at that point, and we have to leave and then email them a quote. What you're doing is you're actually lining yourself up to be just compared on price. Okay. You can't handle any objections. You can't work through, customers, concerns. And what ends up happening, all right, a lot of times is that, they may choose somebody just based on the price. Okay. So you're leaving a lot of room there. Now, will it be like that forever? Maybe not. We see a lot of changes every year. You can have this through Zoom. All right. But when I'm saying like you're actually meeting face to face, that can be, electronic. I still am I guess ironically enough, we still have more success when we're at their home in front of them. Um, but you can do it through Zoom. It's better than nothing. But the last thing we ever want to do is be um, putting out our proposals over email. Okay. So let's go through this a little bit more carefully on the qualification. So we qualify before we quote. All right. How many of you guys, just out of curiosity, give me a one in the chat. How many of you guys have a structured qualification process? How many of you guys are scoring your qualification?
No.
Okay. All right. I think I mentioned to you guys that I'm only qualifying 50% of the leads that are even inbound to us. I mean, they're calling us. All right. And again, what you're going to find, all right, especially as your marketing grows and your reputation grows, is that you have to become really, really good about qualifying. All right. Most contractors that I encounter don't have a set process. They don't have a way of really analyzing that score. Therefore, they also don't have a really good way to control their marketing. They don't have a good way to know if they have a marketing an issue or a sales issue. Most of the things that can be data driven, all right, if we're not using a qualification process, are out the door. Okay. So again, by simply implementing a qualification sheet, I'm a big fan of the scoring sheet. All right. It doesn't have to be electronic or it doesn't have to be fancy, but that's a huge amount of data that you can collect. All right. To know how your marketing's performing, to know how your sales team's performing, to know what needs to be improved. It's the front line of your entire sales process. Okay. So if anything that you guys could take away from today is, really thinking carefully about how we're qualifying and how that should look. All right. Because over time, it really does become a simple routine. All right. That's going to give you a good understanding of what you have in your pipeline. Okay. So step two, the proposal. Again, you guys can be flexible on this. All right. But and we're a roofing company, just to give you perspective, if we are going out to somebody's home, all right, it's with the understanding that we're either signing a contract or we are getting paid for an inspection. Okay. Our inspections are $3.99. All right. All roofs that we do require an inspection. All right. We require a full evaluation. All right. AKA a sales proposal. All right. We charge $3.99 if we're going to go and have those. Now, those are refunded back to the customer if they choose to work with us. If not, then we leave them with a full scope of work, full detailed report on their project, and we look for any problems that other contractors wouldn't have time to, like attic inspections and so on and so forth. Exact same thing that most of you guys can do, and that's front-ending your value. All right. And I'll tell you, the customers we have, very few of them even bat their eye at that. Okay. We do credit back. All right. For general contractors, for guys that are doing multi-trade. All right. I don't know how you could go out and do a proposal for three, four, five trades, even smaller projects, let's say under 50,000 and not be paid for your time. Okay. Because again, you're running way too much risk there of wasting your time and just being used for your price. Okay. And I think that again, by implementing this right off the bat, it's going to help you to close a lot more deals. Okay. Step three, your welcome package, right? Again, it's going to outline your process. It's going to explain and validate what you've had a conversation with them if they've been accepted or um, they've agreed to your terms. You're going to make sure that that's super clear. Okay. You want them to have that in their hand as well because it begins the process of building trust, building credibility with your customer. Okay. And again, it can explain your payment schedules, how you work. There's a lot of different ways we can frame this and build it. Okay. Step four is the sales focused proposal. All right. Again, if anything you guys can take away as a quick win, all right, take a good look at what you're sending out to your customers. All right. If it's a QuickBooks estimate, all right, congratulations. You are going to be compared on price. Doesn't matter how nice you talk. Okay. A proposal is basically a sales presentation, all right, with an estimate within it. Okay. And again, I challenge everybody here to really take a careful look at what they are presenting, okay, because that's the impression you're leaving with the customer. If we've met with them face to face, within about 2 hours, they only retained about 15% of the information you shared with them. Okay. What they're left with though is your proposal. If you guys put some time and effort into the quality of that proposal, the look, all right, and what's included in it, you're going to find that your sales closing ratio goes up. And the ones that you do sell have a lot more trust with it within your company. They're a lot more willing to give over deposits. And again, they're a lot more excited about working with you. It's a simple thing, but it's very, very underutilized, as well as your offer. Okay. Offer is a big thing that we work on here at Contractor AI, is understanding, a good, better, best structure. All right. How we can, make sure that we're timing objections and we're giving the customer the Amazon-like experience, right? We're giving them the option of choosing. All right. And we're giving ourselves the best chance of landing that job. So again, you're actually beating your odds 3 to 1. You got three prices. All right. And you're competing with guys coming in giving one price. All right. Pretty easy to start to prove your value out that way. Okay. And again, we could have a whole other call on good, better, best pricing all in its own. All right. Step five, again, we're going to present it live. All right. So this could be live Zoom. That's an acceptable way. All right. Again, if you're capable, it's always better to be in front of your customer. A lot easier to get go aheads, for sure. All right. But we should never email it cold. Okay. All right. The other thing, and I just want to touch on this really briefly, all right, but when we're in front of a customer, all right, and we can read their body language and we can understand tones and understand where they're at, there's an opportunity there, okay, to um, do what we call trial closes. Okay, a trial close is essentially getting them to agree to, going ahead with you. Possibly you're going to give them a marketing discount. All right. So if they have a price objection, you're able to actually respond to that price objection with if it's a true price objection, by giving them a bit of a rebate in exchange for a marketing opportunity. Okay. Can't tell you how many deals we've closed just on that. Okay. It's not giving it away either. It's negotiating on terms. All right. And again, timing your objections. I don't want to get too far into the sales part of this. That's again another whole call. So from quotes to paid proposals, to give you an idea of what we did with our flooring contractor, was sitting at about a 13% close rate. Okay. Now we're talking about a very large contractor doing a lot of work. All right. But can you imagine 13%? All right. I wonder how many people on this call here, if you're tracking your closing rates, are probably below that. I see plenty of contractors that are far below that. And that's a very, very obvious connection. And a lot of times we beat ourselves up. Is it price? Is it marketing? Is it this? Is that? A lot of it's to do with just how you're presenting your offer. A lot of it's to do is how much value you've built and the status that you carry with your customer. By fixing these few things, okay, is actually going to allow us to see a clearer picture. So we took about a 13% closing rate. Beautiful proposal, by the way. And I'll stress that. Like, again, beautiful proposal just being emailed out. They would go visit, measure, and then, email the quotes out, closed about 13%. After, when we presented the paid proposal, okay, that we, presented in its own offer, all right, that it was a full inspection, all right, our closing rate went to 55%. Okay. He also managed to collect $6,000 in proposal fees in 3 months. Okay. So think about this, and we tripled his sales, right? As well as collected a whole other revenue that he had never touched before. Okay. So 6K. So again, even when you lose jobs, you're still getting paid for your time. Imagine that. Okay. But the only caveat here, guys, is that in order to have that be of value to a customer, all right, we really got to think about what we're offering in exchange, how we're presenting that value. All right. What position you're coming in. And there are definitely exceptions. I know Mario, I think Mario's probably here. Matt, I see you. I'll give you an exception to this rule slightly. All right. Is that they're actually selling a closet setup, and we've been able to, and we're on the way of actually being able to do in-home through a live link where we can have, a live meeting. But because of the ticket price, all right, we can't always go out and see them, but we can give them quick proposals. Electricians, again, I think Greg's on here. He uses live link as well. All right, that gives you that personalized experience where you can actually use it to do a walkthrough with your customer and be able to quote them over the phone. All right, and these are generally for smaller ticket. Okay, if you're doing that, speed and convenience is going to trump. Going for the paid proposal and having a longer turnaround. Anything higher, the more dollars that you add on to it, all right, the more important that these steps become. Okay. Okay. So contractors using paid proposals close 2 to 3 times more. Okay, imagine that. So just put that into perspective for yourselves. All right, by introducing the paid proposal, it's going to knock out your tire kickers and your time consumers. All right, and what is always the funniest thing that I see with contractors that have implemented this process, all right, is when they discover who their actual A customers are, weren't the ones that they were focused on. Okay, they weren't the ones they thought they were. Okay. Oftentimes, they're losing A customers because they have C's and D's taking their time, having them run around giving out proposals, like consuming their time, right? Meanwhile, the A's, the ones that are ready to buy now, all right, that are going to give them the least grief, get ignored, or they get delayed, all right, and don't get the service that they deserve. Okay. And they just go somewhere else. All right. Remember, high value customers, they can sense it from your business whether you're truly concerned about their needs or not. All right. And if they have the money and if they are serious about getting the job done, they're going to go to somebody else that's going to treat them the way that they want. Okay. So I want you to put that in your mind and imagine for a second that, hey, we had to do nothing else but just screen better and get rid of the C's and D's off the bat. The ones that aren't willing to pay for your time, you want to get rid of them. Okay. You're going to be left with nothing but A and B customers. Ones willing to put money up front, all right, and make a small commitment to you, all right, and compensate you for your time. Okay. They're also going to see you as a much higher value and a higher status contractor. Okay. And you're going to see your profit margin soar because we're not wasting our time running around giving out quotes. Okay. We're not using resources. We're damn sure not driving vehicles around, all right, throwing out numbers to people that, aren't really even invested in. Okay. So what's the quick win today, guys? This is something that everybody on the call can do. They can do now. We can create a one-page welcome package. Okay. Again, this is a simple thing to do. All right. This could be as much as just explaining who you are, what your company does, how you're going to help them. All right. But send it out with, once you've qualified a customer. All right. Just try that one thing. You want to build trust and authority with them. All right. You want to let them know what kind of company you are and what your process is. All right. We want to lead our sales. Okay. We want to lead our customers right from the very first engagement. Okay. Um, we want to add a proposal fee for complex projects. Okay. So whatever you feel would compensate your time. All right. So that you don't become the product. All right. To actually do a proper, thorough quote. All right. Come up with that fee. All right. Add that fee for complex projects. Now, anybody here on the commercial side? All right. Anybody doing commercial business, bidded packages, stuff like that, low tender bids. You have sort of an issue there. What I would recommend to you guys is understand that you have the same scoring system when we look at customers. There may very well be customers that you continuously are pricing but aren't winning jobs for. The ones you aren't winning jobs for, introduce a proposal fee. Okay. You'll probably lose those customers and they won't continue to take advantage of your time. Okay. Um, Proposals, obviously, again, cutting them off at certain ranges where they can't, request more quotes than what you've sold. That's a very good process to get in place. Um, as well in your welcome package for commercial contractors and for resident or for any contractor. All right. Make sure that you introduce the early payment discount if you're going to have terms. All right. Again, this is something you can negotiate and something that should be present so that your customer sees it. All right. In the early stages. So if they're willing to make higher upfront payments, all right, more frequent payments in the commercial side, if they're willing to pay their invoice within 7 days, okay, this very much can be how you sell your jobs. Okay, it's the power of the offer. So again, if you are working for a general contractor, okay, and you've offered them a 2% discount if they pay their bill earlier, all right, fundamentally you've just increased their profits, on that job, especially if they're a cost plus or anything like that. All right, and I know many builders, many of our clients happily take us up on this offer. Okay. But they never would if we didn't have that as a part of our presentation and welcome package. Okay. All right. The last thing that's pretty easy, even in your quotes, your estimates, guys, quick win here. All right. Add the next steps to every page. Just add the next steps. Okay. Make sure that your customer is absolutely clear what they need to do next to move the job along. Okay. Way too often we don't do this very simple thing, and it seems like, such a no-brainer for some, but like if your customer doesn't know what action to take, all right, how easy is it to get delayed or to um, miss an opportunity? Okay. So simple, quick wins here, guys, that we can implement today. Okay. So again, out of curiosity here in the chat, let me know how many of you guys are sending out free proposals right now and don't feel like you could get a paid proposal. Anybody here?
How do I answer?
You just speak.
How do I answer?
What do you mean? Oh, how do you answer? You gotta use your mic and unmute yourself.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
No.
All right. Okay, so Matt, I think I was just talking to you. You have an exception, like I said, because of your ticket price and the way that you're delivering your offer. And again, a great example of where speed to lead and speed to the opportunity is going to be more important in that situation. All right. So again, it wouldn't apply to that particular offer. And like I said, if you do have an offer here, feel free to unmute yourself and let's chat about it. And will they, again, there is some exceptions to this rule. So, but most of us, again, most of us can definitely introduce a paid proposal or partially hybrid system of getting paid for our proposals. Okay. All right. You can throw it in the chat as well.
Yeah, hey Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I could probably get paid proposals, but I think it would have to be a different set of customers than I currently have.
Great. See, now we're already solving problems. So explain. What do you mean?
Well, the customers that I currently have, they're used to getting free proposals and used
Mhm.
to shopping up bids and
Okay.
pitting us against other contractors.
I lo Thank you so much for bringing that up. Okay. Here's what I want to share with you. Okay. Number one, there is no value, all right, in being like everybody else. All right. Our job's actually to differentiate ourselves from your competitors. Okay. So again, we have to really think about the whole process of, getting the unpaid proposal. What's the customer's frustration, right? What's the potential risk? Okay. And again, while we're doing that discovery call with them, all right, finding out, what they're frustrated with. So again, I'm assuming you're into the commercial space, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, perfect. All right. And are you dealing with property managers? What are you dealing with?
Property managers, regional managers, and occasionally
Perfect.
owners themselves.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
let's break down their problem. Okay. Number one, if they're coming to you, all right, they're taking risk with their customer. Okay. Meaning that
Correct.
the customer is looking at them to be the expert or to be to have the resources in order to, solve the problem. Okay. Now,
Hmm.
oftentimes the good property managers I notice have a tendency to hire an engineer for a lot of their projects, to have somebody else spec their projects, to have somebody else inspect their projects before they bring in a contractor. All right.
Wow.
Good ones. All right. Now, on the other hand, um, you have an opportunity here. Okay. The first would be, you know, taking your getting paid for your proposal, but rebranding it a different way. So again, they have a problem. How about we go out and do a thorough inspection first? All right, where we are going to be non-biased. I'm not necessarily there to sell you anything, but to get the job spec'd and inspected,
Hmm.
right? To validate that this work actually has to be carried out.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So now what would happen? All right. And then again, it's not saying paid proposal to them directly. It's saying inspection first, right?
Hmm.
Inspection first means thorough evaluation, pictures, documentation, like providing them the things that they would need, all right, to essentially, you know, bid out a job, right?
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
presenting that and repackaging, and I'll give you the perfect example. We have a whole division that does inspections, right? We do them for insurance companies. Um, we do them for real estate. Okay. We still land 30% of the jobs, 30 to 40% of the jobs that we do our inspections on. All right. But they're intentionally calling us out for the inspection first, right?
Uh-huh.
Because we're documenting, and that's a better step than getting somebody to just go out that has to sell them something. Because
I
now they
like that.
do need to get three quotes, right? They do need to, and they do are going to compare on price.
Hmm.
All right,
Hmm.
because you're not differentiating yourself from being the trusted consultant, the trusted inspector, the trusted, the person that's providing transparency. You're being the salesy contractor.
Yeah, I would bet money that if I did that, I would probably be the only contractor that they know that's doing that.
Right. And watch what happens. And again, I work with property managers, so we know this very well. Like again, even if you're unsure of it to start off with, just start providing a picture report with your proposals and watch what happens. Because what
Okay.
that does is, again, you got to remember they're document driven. They got liabilities. Like you got to understand how your customer's business works, right? So again, when you provide that, it's basically taking them off the hook in a lot of ways, right? It's allowing them to share information and validate what the problem actually is, all right? And you're providing upfront, transparent evidence of it, right? So why are you pricing these things? Again,
Yeah.
going through that allows them to share that with their customer outside of what the quote is. Okay. It's going to
Mhm.
make them a hero. All right. It's going to cover their ass and it's going to have them coming back to you for that service, primarily.
I see,
Right.
yeah.
And now we're going to be the one, like, again, when the budget's there, we're going to win the jobs. And when it's not, we're still getting paid.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like something I can market specifically for
Totally.
that throughout the company.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Right. And
okay,
again, work on the way you package that. All right. Because, you can easily put a thorough inspection. It doesn't take that much more time either. Right. So, you're in our program, so we can talk about that all day. But again, that's exactly how I would present it. Right. You can't go in the door looking and sounding like everyone else. If you do, all right, they've got to choose on price. You've given them no other option but to compare you on price.
okay. Sounds
Okay.
good. I like
Cool.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else have an offer they think um wouldn't apply to getting a paid proposal? Okay. All right. So guys, I'll openly say that that's a lot of information I just shared with you. All right. If you're interested in, looking at this a little bit more carefully and, having your
Roger.
estimating proposal evaluated, book a call with us. No obligation. We'll take a
Yeah,
look at it, give you some suggestions on how you can improve it.
I
All
can
right.
do that. I'm in the middle of
Um,
a signal
oh,
right now, but
give me one
I
second.
haven't. No problem. I haven't.
Oh, I think I cut him off by accident. Okay. Okay, so once again, guys, if you have any questions, anything you want to share, I'm here. I'm here for you. If you want to throw your question in the chat, I'd happy to answer it. If you're concerned that you can't get these proposals, we can go through it.
Jay, yeah,
Yes,
quick question.
sure.
Okay, so right now I have not been asking for paid proposals, right?
Okay.
What would be a good way if I wanted to change that within the people that I'm working with now? What's a good way to segue that without losing business?
Welcome. So if I were you in your exact position, I would work on my welcome package. Okay. So that's a document that everybody receives. All right. And you can use this. It works especially well in B2B. All right. When you're meeting with somebody new or anything like that, send them a welcome package that explains your process. And in there, you would very clearly identify how your company works, why you're different. All right. And what kind of value you can bring. And I would keep it on the basis of hands-on inspection. Right.
Okay, I like that.
So that welcome package, and again, you can see in the one that I shared with you, we're doing the same thing. So you might use your case studies, all right? But that first initial conversation is this is how we work. Okay, this is what you're getting. All right.
Mhm.
And it gives them an opportunity. Like again, if they say, oh well, I'm not paying for an inspection, okay, no
Okay,
problem. Right. Like
okay,
we can give you a ballpark number, but what would happen if, we got to the job and there was, some hidden damage that you weren't aware of, and then I had to, you received a large change work order,
got it, got it.
right?
Thank you. Mhm.
Okay. So a lot of it, guys, just objection handling, knowing your customer. And again, there are definitely, some opportunities, probably within everybody's business where they can get paid for some of their proposals or inspections. All right. But we just have to challenge the way that we're thinking about what's acceptable and what's not. Okay. All right. So before we wrap this up, anybody else have any other questions, concerns, ideas? All right. Thanks for sharing your time with me today and hope you got some value, and we'll talk to you in a bit. Bye now.